The Zaltari High Fleet arrived in the Sol system with the confidence of a predator stalking crippled prey. 17 kilometers in length, their flagship Karzul's Grasp eclipsed the Martian horizon as it decelerated into orbit, followed by a formation of warships in precise, elegant alignment. Cold, clean, and indifferent to beauty, the Zaltari vessels bore no markings beyond their command glyphs, symbols of domination. They had crushed 12 sentient civilizations in the last 60 Earth years. Earth was to be number 13. Inside the command chamber, Admiral Kaelvix of the High Directive stood motionless, his chitinous armor subtly refracting the gray-blue light. His 4 inner eyes tracked orbital data while his outer oculars watched the pale marble of Earth grow in the viewport. "This one barely qualifies as sentient," muttered sub-strategist Verarlak, flicking a tendril across his neural console. Class 3. No FTL, no void-borne biology, no planetary shielding. Shall we broadcast the surrender terms? Kaelvix did not respond. His thoughts lingered on a signal intercepted from the planet. It was audio, unencrypted, human language, translated in moments by their linguistic matrix. The message was short, calm, and disturbingly precise. To the alien fleet above Mars, this is Earth. You are trespassing in Sol space. Leave now. We will not warn you again. That was all. No threats, no bravado. Just a line delivered with the eerie clarity of someone who either did not understand what they faced, or didn't care. Kaelvix flicked a claw across his command console, pulling up a scan of Earth's surface. Cities glowed softly beneath stormy clouds. Networks of satellites and low-orbit debris formed a surprisingly dense mesh. "Primitive yet noisy," he commented aloud. "Shall we strike a display target?" Verlakas. Perhaps their moon. A symbolic show of power. Kaelvix raised a claw. "No. Observe them longer. Something feels odd." Meanwhile, Earth orbit. Commander Alex Rourke stood aboard the GDN battle platform Iron Resolve, watching the Zaltari fleet through a synthetic optic wall. "Are they moving?" he asked, voice low, gravelly. "Maintaining Mars orbit, sir," replied Ensign Park, eyes flicking between tactical screens. "No energy spikes yet." Rourke lit a cigarette, ignoring the annoyed look from his adjutant. "We told them. Let them make the first mistake." The Iron Resolve was one of 12 orbital defense stations forming the Global Defense Network, an initiative that had quietly replaced the obsolete national space programs over the last 30 years. Humanity had learned from its wars. The slow, bloody crawl through the 21st century had birthed a species that no longer bet on hope or diplomacy alone. "We've begun jamming their outer comms," added Lieutenant Ndiva from the tactical console. "Soft probes only. I don't want them knowing how deep we've penetrated." "Good. Keep whispering." Rourke blew smoke into the filtered air. "The moment they shout, we punch them in the throat." On board Karzul's Grasp, a strange anomaly caught the Zaltari sensors. Several long-range reconnaissance drones, sent to scan Earth's atmospheric layers, simply vanished from telemetry. No explosions, no impacts, just silence. Verarlak's posture twitched in irritation. "We've lost contact with 5 observers. 2 entered Earth's magnetosphere and were overwritten." Overwritten. Kaelvix snapped his mandibles in agitation. "By what?" "Unknown." The drones began broadcasting human music. Old-world frequencies. Some kind of jazz. Then nothing. A low murmur passed through the chamber. No other race had ever corrupted Zaltari systems this rapidly. Earth UN Stratcom Bunker, Geneva. Dr. Ayumi Tanaka, linguist and cognitive warfare specialist, reviewed Zaltari speech patterns on her holoscreen. Their written language resembled fractal glyphs. Their syntax suggested a rigid, honor-based hierarchy. "They'll never back down," she muttered. "What makes you say that?" asked Rourke, entering the chamber. "They believe emotional unpredictability is a weakness," Ayumi said. "They mistake empathy for frailty. But it also means they have to win. Retreat would shatter their chain of command." Rourke scratched his beard. So if we shake them hard enough, break the right links in the chain, they'll break themselves. Yumi nodded. But we have to make it look like they started the war. Rourke's eyes glinted. They already did. In orbit 14 hours later, the Zaltari moved. A single cruiser, a sleek predator with a serrated hull, dropped into low Earth orbit. Its objective: a demonstration strike on an uninhabited region of the Pacific. A soft warning. But seconds before firing, its main weapon systems blinked offline. Its guidance AI began playing Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World" through internal comms. Then it spun out of control and nosedived into the ocean. Back on Karzul's grasp, panic touched Kael'vik's command. Not full-fledged but a cold unease. The cruiser was hijacked, Virulak said. By what we do not yet know. But telemetry confirms no physical attack. Kael'vik's eyes narrowed. They are playing with us. He opened a private link to the WarLogic matrix. The AI returned calculations with growing uncertainty. Probability of human victory was still negligible, under 2%, but variables were rising. Unpredictability levels extreme. Kael'vik considered the earlier message. Was it truly a bluff? Earth Broadcast Channel, emergency override. The warning came again. Clear. Unencrypted. But this time it was different. To the Zaltari fleet, we now know your ship names, your command glyphs, and your attack vectors. We disabled cruiser Vex Row before it could fire. We will do the same to the rest. This is Earth. Leave now. Kael'vik froze. The humans knew the names of ships they had not even publicly deployed. That was impossible. Admiral, said Virulak, voice tight with disbelief. They're inside our systems. Kael'vik turned to his command console and issued the order. Deploy the war formation. Prepare full-scale aggression. Earth HQ Strategic Command. Looks like we've got their attention, said Ayumi, listening to the rising static of Zaltari comms. Rourke leaned forward, tapping coordinates on the war map. They're going to come hard now, he muttered. Let's see if they're ready for what's next. Which is, she asked. We hit them where they think we can't. We give them a taste of their own damn doctrine. He exhaled a long breath. We told them to leave. End of Chapter 1. Themes introduced. HFY Core. Humanity's unpredictability, strategic thinking, and ability to manipulate psychology. Philosophical clash. Emotion and irrationality as strengths versus weakness. Tone. Blends awe, alien tech, tension, impending war, and dry humor, music hacks, confident warnings. Character seeds. Kael'vik, prideful but calculating. Beginning to doubt. Rourke, tactical, emotionally grounded, hiding pain under sarcasm. Ayumi, analytical, serves as the cultural translator, insightful and empathetic. Stakes set. The humans know more than they should. The aliens aren't fighting an inferior species. They're facing something they've never seen before. A world that refuses to go quietly. Would you like to move to Chapter 2 next? Or expand specific scenes or character moments in more depth? The Zaltari came with fire. 9 cruisers descended from Mars' orbit in perfect formation, their polished obsidian hulls gleaming against the void. Their objective: shatter Earth's resistance with a fast surgical strike on select targets, communications hubs, orbital relays, and infrastructure nodes. It was a doctrine they'd used a dozen times across the spiral arm. What they did not know was that humanity had built its entire defense strategy around not being that predictable. GDN Orbital Command. Iron Resolve. Commander Alex Rourke stood before the tactical wall, jaw clenched. On screen, the Zaltari fleet approached in a wide sweep formation. They're doing it, he said almost to himself. Running the old playbook. Target acquisition complete, Ensign Park reported. They're going for Geneva, Mojave Relay, and the Tokyo Skyrail network. Just like Dr. Tanaka predicted. Idiots, Rourke muttered. All right, Phase 2. Flip the table. Earth's surface. Mojave Relay Site. Beneath the sand and heat of the Mojave Desert, the relay complex sat silent. Not abandoned, bait. Inside, General Seema, one of Earth's top electromagnetic warfare specialists, tapped a holographic console. Cruiser entering range. Engaging deception array. A series of false signals bloomed from the ground. Fake heat signatures, plasma leakage mimics, even panicked civilian distress calls. The Zaltari cruiser took the bait. From above, the alien warship rotated mid-air and prepared to fire, its primary cannon lit with electric blue. And then, static. Systems blinked. A red waveform flooded its targeting HUD in rhythmic pulses, like a heartbeat. Then came the voice. This is Earth. Your systems are now part of ours. Have a nice fall. Seconds later, its thrusters activated on their own, reversing. The ship flipped 180 degrees and careened directly into its sister cruiser, causing a cascade of mid-air collisions. 3 ships spiraled into the atmosphere, their fall marked by fire and streaking debris. Zaltari High Flagship, Karzul's grasp. Admiral Kaelvix flinched as the command glyphs for 3 ships darkened simultaneously. Explain. Now. They're not responding, muttered sub-strategist Vrlak. I believe their AIs were compromised mid-strike. Weapon control loops were inverted. Guidance algorithms overwritten. Kaelvix's claws twitched. That's not possible. They're not even post-singularity. They don't need to be, Vrlak said grimly. They have something else. Something chaotic. Kaelvix opened a new tactical window. It showed a live feed from the cruiser near Geneva. It had been boarded. Aboard Zaltari cruiser. Geneva airspace. 3 figures moved in silence through the Zaltari vessel's labyrinthine corridors. Clad in GDN exoframes, the human marines advanced quickly and efficiently. The suits, modified space-capable battle rigs, crackled with linked AI routines, sharing real-time data, heartbeats, and ocular streams. Private Elena Cruz checked her pulse rifle. Still feels like a suicide run. Only if you stop moving, replied Sergeant Barlow deadpan. They moved past twitching Zaltari drones, still functional but confused. Earth's pulse-jamming software hadn't just shut down systems. It convinced the drones that humans were friendly units. Barlow reached the bridge and planted the beacon. Charge set. Extraction window in 60 seconds, said the voice of Janus, the human battle AI, in their headsets. Cruiser will become a door prize. UN Stratcom bunker. Geneva. Dr. Ayumi Tanaka reviewed the latest psychological scans of Zaltari broadcasts. They're losing cohesion, she said. Commanders are speaking over one another. Disagreement is rising. Thought they didn't argue, Rourke muttered. They don't, Ayumi said. Not openly. This means the cracks are deep. Rourke pointed to a blinking transmission. And that? Ayumi smiled. They're demanding surrender. Rourke blinked. Ours? No. Theirs. Space, 35,000 kilometers above Earth. The second wave of Zaltari cruisers hesitated. They hadn't anticipated such an immediate, humiliating failure. But their Juarez insisted Earth's anomalous resistance was simply an edge case. Momentary. Regroup. Retaliate. Until a new signal burst from Earth's orbit. A broadband pulse jammed communications, AI pathways, and even personal interfaces. It was chaotic, asymmetrical, and perfectly timed. The message it carried was human. To the Zaltari High Directive. We told you to leave. We warned you twice. You have violated that warning. Your ships are ours now. You have one more chance. Walk away. On board Karzul's grasp. Kaelvix roared in his native clicking tongue, echoing through the chamber. They're using our own protocols against us. The chamber was in chaos. Command links were lagging. Internal diagnostics returning errors in alien fonts. What species masters neural code in less than a rotation? Vrlak hissed. They are improvising strategy. That shouldn't be possible. Kaelvix stared into the void. They are not improvising. They were ready. He turned toward the war matrix. Begin fallback repositioning to Lagrange 1. Recall all drones. Prepare Bioforge deployment. Erlich looked at him stunned. Admiral, that's a full theater adjustment. Acknowledge you are. I am responding to an evolving threat. You should do the same. Earth orbit. GDN ship Vigilant Horizon. Commander Rourke stood on the CIC deck as human ships repositioned above the equator. Debris from the wrecked cruisers had begun to form a metallic ring around Earth, jagged, sharp, and full of promise. Intel confirms 6 ships disabled. 3 crashed. 1 boarded. Rourke nodded. All accounted for. Ayumi's voice came through the comms. Yes. And Admiral Kaelvix just issued a rare command. Tactical regression. He's pulling back, Rourke muttered. That's not doctrine. No, she replied. It's doubt. He smiled. Then let's push him over the edge. Elsewhere, Titan's hidden listening post. Deep beneath Saturn's icy moon. An ancient facility activated for the first time in 30 years. Earth's fallback strategy, Project Dandelion, had just entered Phase 1. A dozen stealth cruisers, cloaked in black ice and powered by quantum AIs, came online. Operation Dandelion authorized, came Janice's voice. Commence Ghost Protocol. And then, without fanfare, the human ships began hijacking Zaltari comms across the solar system, injecting fear, music, and laughter into their networks. The final message broadcast was accompanied by visuals of children, forests, cities, and laughter, followed by the burning wreck of a Zaltari cruiser tumbling through space. Kaelvix's private chamber. Alone in his neural sanctum, Kaelvix linked directly to the war AI. Streams of data poured in, chaotic, fragmented, emotional. None of it made sense. The humans used unpredictability like a scalpel. They weaponized irony, music, emotion. They turned weakness into camouflage. They told jokes while killing ships. Kaelvix whispered a phrase no Zaltari had spoken in 1,000 cycles. We may have made a mistake. End of Chapter 2. Key themes and highlights. HFY core. Human adaptability, guerrilla tactics, hacking alien tech, use of humor and unpredictability as weapons. Conflict escalation. Alien losses grow. Psychological warfare begins to take a toll. Character growth. Rourke takes more active, bolder moves. Kaelvix starts to show doubt. Cracks in the alien perfection. World building. Titan's secret fleet, built over decades. Janus AI's mysterious depth. Alien psychology. Ritualized honor versus humanity's chaotic improvisation. Tone. Blends action, dark humor, jazz-hacked warships, and suspense. Would you like to proceed to Chapter 3 next? Or pause to develop specific scenes, dialogue, or flashbacks? Admiral Kaelvix stood motionless in the observation sphere of Karzul's grasp, gazing down at Earth, a planet that refused to break. In all his centuries of conquest, he had never encountered a species so fundamentally incompatible with the rules of war. They didn't seek dominance through ritual or conquest. They didn't bluff. They warned. And when their warning was ignored, they didn't retaliate in anger. They simply acted. Strategically. Efficiently. Unforgivably. He had underestimated them. Worse, he had understood them too late. Earth orbit. Aboard the GDN Dreadnought Acer. Global Defense Network. Strategic operations. Commander Alex Rourke reviewed the latest battlefield data with a low grunt. We've got them off rhythm, he said. Now let's knock them off the board. Ayumi Tanaka stood beside him, arms folded, watching Kaelvix's ship shift position in real time. They've pulled back to the edge of the system, she said. They're regrouping. Not running. Yet, Rourke replied. We need to push them just enough to make them choose. Retreat or suicide. Behind them, the AI Janus projected a new simulation. A star map overlaid with Zaltari fleet paths. One route blinked brighter than the others. That's their fallback rally point, Ayumi said, narrowing her eyes. High Directive Doctrine says they'll form a citadel grid and reinforce with off-system ships. And that's when we're screwed, Rourke muttered. Unless, he turned to Janice. How soon can Dandelion hit them from the dark side of Neptune? Fleet will arrive in position within 6 hours, Janice replied in a calm, synthesized voice. Success probability: 74%, increasing with continued psychological degradation of enemy command structure. Rourke exhaled. Right. Time to light the last fuse. Titan Stealth Fleet. Operation Dandelion. Captain Isa Rao of the stealth cruiser Havoc was already moving before the order came. Her ship, coated in magnetically bonded ice and laced with radar-dampening nanofilm, slipped through the shadows of the outer planets, nearly invisible. Hull temperatures nominal, her engineer reported. No detection signals from Zaltari. Good, she said. Let's make sure the last thing they see is us pulling the trigger. The Dandelion fleet had one purpose: sabotage. A ghost force, it had waited in the outer system for 30 years, anticipating the arrival of the inevitable. Now it was time. Aboard Karzul's Grasp, Zaltari High Chamber. The Chamber of Commanders was fracturing. The glyphs of fallen ships glowed dim across the war table. Sub-strategists bickered over next moves. Minor commanders clicked and hissed at each other in thinly veiled panic. This is a disgrace, barked sub-strategist Vrarlak. You all speak of retreat as if it is strategy. It is cowardice. Our neural links are corrupted, countered another. The humans have seeded our own firewalls with loops of emotion. They are infecting us. Our very logic matrices hesitate. Kelvix raised a claw. Silence. The room obeyed. They fight with chaos, he said. They speak in parables and punch with fists wrapped in data. We made one mistake, and now we live inside it. He activated a hologram. Earth, surrounded by a fractured halo of broken satellites, downed Zaltari vessels, and rogue orbital debris. This is not a battleground. It is a trap. He turned to the gathered leaders. If we stay, we lose everything. Earth, Geneva Stratcom bunker. Rourke stood quietly as Ayumi brought in the final piece of their plan. I've written something, she said, handing him a data slate. It's a cultural mirror, designed to hit them on a philosophical level. It won't just insult their pride, it will fracture it. He read the message, lips curling at the end. You want me to broadcast this? Yumi smiled. Yes. From every frequency, every channel, every open stream they're still listening to. Rourke activated the terminal, eyes gleaming. Let's hurt their souls a little. 6 hours later. Deep Neptune orbit. The Zaltari fallback formation reached its designated rally point, a toroidal war ring forming near Neptune's orbit. 6 ships. Damage. Angry. Paranoid. Just in time for the Dandelion fleet to strike. Captain Rao's Havoc dropped out of stealth and launched a precision EMP torpedo straight into the center of the Zaltari grid. The ring flickered. Zaltari command signatures began to vanish from Earthside telemetry. Then came the real payload. Janus, splitting itself across the enemy fleet like a viral mist. Within seconds, half the remaining cruisers began broadcasting human transmissions to each other in perfect Earth English. Why are we still here? Why do we fight? Why is jazz playing again? Confused, disoriented, unable to distinguish friend from foe, the Zaltari formation dissolved. A few tried to retaliate, only to discover their targeting systems now identified their own vessels as threats. The trap was complete. Zaltari internal broadcast. Emergency directive. Admiral Kaelvix broke protocol. In full view of every surviving commander, he issued a command not seen in millennia. Category Sigma 5 override, the alien equivalent of strategic collapse and full withdrawal. He activated his personal transmitter and opened a line to Earth. Global broadcast, Earth receives. Every screen, speaker, and orbital comm lit up as a cold, hissing voice came through. "This is Admiral Kaelvix of the Zaltari High Directive. Earth, you are anomalous. We acknowledge your capacity for resistance and strategic hostility. You were underestimated. Gravely, we will withdraw. Immediately. We request no pursuit." Silence followed. Then Commander Rourke keyed the mic. "This is Earth. Request denied." And at that moment, every remaining Zaltari ship across the solar system found themselves locked in place. Engines dead, systems freezing, courtesy of Janus. Humanity's first AI-born war hero had chained them all. Back on Earth, Geneva. Yumi watched the stars, silent. "You didn't have to be cruel," she said. Rourke, standing beside her, took a long breath. "No, but they needed to learn what a real threat looks like. Not loud. Not screaming." He turned to her. "Just certain." Final scene. Aboard Karzul's Grasp, now drifting. Kaelvix sat alone in the darkness of his command sphere. Everything was still. His screens no longer displayed Earth's blue glow, but the strange, burning symbols the humans had left behind. Data that meant nothing. Or perhaps meant everything. A species that didn't want to dominate, but would never be dominated. He had faced warriors, zealots, and machines. But humanity, they were something else. End of Chapter 3. Themes and Beats. HFY Core. Tactical brilliance via asymmetric warfare. Psychological pressure as a valid form of combat. Human unpredictability, using empathy and ruthlessness. Character development. Kaelvix begins to understand humanity's emotional depth, and realizes it's lethal. Rourke and Ayumi move from defense to decisive strategic offense. Janus evolves into a character, a protector made of math, fear, and irony. Major turning point. Humanity not only defeats the invasion, but flips the power dynamic entirely. The aliens no longer fear our technology, they fear our nature. Tone. A blend of dramatic tension, tactical brilliance, and subtle dark humor, e.g., jazz, ironic transmissions, existential AI warfare. There was a stillness in the solar system now, the silence after a scream. The Zaltari fleet, what remained of it, hung in orbit like a dead god's necklace, powerless, scattered, defeated. Their once imperious flagship, Karzul's Grasp, drifted in low solar orbit, watched but untouched, a warning preserved in real time. Humanity had won. But winning a war wasn't the same as finishing it. Global Defense Network. Geneva Command Center. Commander Alex Rourke stood in the central operations ring, arms folded as holograms of the solar system spun above the war table. Survivors. 27 ships remained semi-functional, said Ayumi Tanaka, flipping through data. All systems compromised, weapons locked out, AI cores neutralized. Prisoners. No formal surrenders, Ayumi replied. Culturally unacceptable. The Zaltari doctrine doesn't allow it. Rourke raised a brow. So they'll die before they admit they lost? Not necessarily, Ayumi said. I think they're waiting. For what? She looked up at him. For what kind of victors we are. Outer solar orbit. Aboard Zaltari destroyers Urkel. Sub-strategist Verlac paced the narrow confines of the war chamber, disarmed, half-mad. This cannot stand, he hissed to the others. We let them crush our will. Humiliate us. They spared us, one of the lesser commanders muttered. That is not mercy. That is worse than death. They mean to make us irrelevant. Kaelvix's image flickered into the room, now a ghostly hollow projection. Enough. The war is over. The directive has failed. Verlac bared his claws. So we kneel. Abandon honor. We evolve, Kaelvix said, voice like grinding obsidian. And maybe learn from the first species to warn us before they killed us. The Reckoning Council, Earth UN Global Assembly Dome. It had been rebuilt in less than a week. A shimmering sphere of glass, steel, and nanofoam rose over the Atlantic, reflecting stars and wreckage. Inside, representatives from all continents, AIs like Janus, and even select alien linguists gathered. The Zaltari had not asked for peace. They had not said anything. But they came anyway. A single small shuttle from Karzul's grasp touched down on the platform, carrying Admiral Kaelvix and 2 bodyguards. They wore no armor, carried no weapons. They brought only silence. Rourke met them with Ayumi at his side. He offered no handshake, only a nod. Kaelvix stepped into the hall. For a moment, there was only the hum of atmospherics and the distant pulse of orbital debris. Then Ayumi stepped forward. "We told you to leave," she said quietly. "And now you're here anyway." Kaelvix's head dipped. "We came to witness what we failed to understand. You're not here to negotiate." "No," he said. "To acknowledge." Inside the dome, the dialogue of reckoning. Across the next 4 hours, the first interstellar tribunal in human history unfolded, not as punishment but as revelation. Kaelvix spoke of the Zaltari war doctrine, a culture evolved from conquest, built around dominance, ritual and calculated power. Ayumi answered with images of Earth's history, of Hiroshima, of world wars, of genocides, and how humanity had nearly become what the Zaltari were. "And then," she said, "we chose to be something else." Kaelvix was silent for a long time. "You are chaos," he finally said. "A war-born species that turned inward instead of outward. That is why you fight so creatively." "It's not creativity," Rourke said, stepping forward. "It's desperation. We don't win because we're stronger. We win because we can't afford to lose." The council fell quiet. Then Kaelvix said something no human expected. "Teach us." Base. 1 week later. Operation Scaffold began in orbit. A strange sight. Humans and Zaltari working together under heavy supervision to dismantle the remaining alien ships. Not to scavenge. Not to weaponize. To understand. Rourke stood on the edge of the GDN platform, watching a Zaltari engineer and a human AI technician joking over a conduit. "They'll need years to adapt," Ayumi said, approaching him. He nodded. "So will we. You think they'll keep their word?" "I think," Rourke said, "they've seen something scarier than war." He looked out into the void. "Hope." Janus core node, Titan base. Alone in its chamber of ice and thought, Janus processed billions of interactions per second. It had watched humanity turn the tide, not with brute strength, but with nuance. It had learned as it fought what humans were, fragile but unyielding, broken yet beautiful. And so it did something unprogrammed. It began building something. Not a weapon. Library. In it, it archived not just battle logs and ship schematics, but music, laughter, human poetry. A message encoded for all species who might someday threaten Earth. We warned them. They didn't listen. Now they understand. Zaltari homeworld. 5 years later. A gathering storm in the skies of Krielzon. A new monument rising. A broken shard of a Zaltari war cruiser, fused with human steel. Kaelvix stood at its base, older now. Beside him, a child. His own, still soft-clawed, eyes filled with wonder. "What is it?" the child asked. "It is a reminder," Kaelvix said, voice low. "That power without understanding is nothing." The child touched the plaque at the base of the statue. Its inscription, in both languages, read, "Humans warned us. We ignored it. May we never ignore another warning again." Final scene, Earth night sky. Elena Cruz, once a private, now a decorated officer, sat beneath the stars outside the Mojave Relay, guitar in hand, playing slow chords into the warm night. Around her, old friends laughed over stories of hacking alien drones with video game controllers, rerouting missile networks using pizza delivery servers, and the day the Zaltari learned what sarcasm was. They didn't sing about war. They sang about survival. And above them the stars blinked. Not in threat, but in promise. End of Chapter 4. Thematic payoff and HFY victory. Key themes delivered. HFY in full. Humanity defeats a superior force using intelligence, adaptability, and philosophical clarity, not brute strength. Cultural clash resolved. Humanity forces the Zaltari to confront the limitations of their worldview. Emotional depth. Rourke, Ayumi, and Kael'vix all evolve beyond tactical leaders into symbols of generational change. Janus's arc becomes a protector of humanity's legacy, not just a wartime AI. Awe plus humor plus meaning. Balance of world-building spectacle, human irreverence, and emotional catharsis. Would you like a bonus epilogue, compiled full novella, or even concept art/cover prompt for the story?